Today, a different style of video that will strengthen your knowledge of this wonderful landscape or graphic design. Try and think not what is on the design, but why. Think why. That's really crucial. This is a bank, and not just any bank. Now, you've heard about knowing your client's audience before, right? Sure, but this is actually going to prove why it's so important and how. So look at the GoHenry website right here. Take a look at the branding, take a look at the logo, the use of typography, the imagery, the color, and what can you perhaps understand or assume from this? Now, if you've developed a strong understanding of graphic design theory and concepts, you might actually have gotten the answer right here. So basically, this bank is aimed at children, and the main typography kind of gives that away, right? But digging a bit further, digging a bit deeper, the logo is in lowercase characters, which is less formal and kind of more approachable to the consumer. Not only that, but the actual typeface itself is a sans serif, which is more modern and it was going to appeal to younger people in general. Great, but actually moving lower, take a look at the color scheme found on the website. I mean, what other banks do you know that actually use this muted pastel bright color palette? You probably can't think of many, and that's simply because this bank is trying to appeal to kids, basically. But let's flip things around and take a look at this next bank, Lloyd's. What do you notice with this bank here, this website? Well, obviously, it will instantly hit with green, right? And I'm soon going to explain why. But the logo is in uppercase letters, which looks kind of more serious. In the past, Lloyd's did use a serif letter form for the logo, but actually these days most banks moving to sans serif simply because it looks more modern. However, this typeface still looks pretty serious, and that appeals to a kind of older audience. But let's take a look at this bank's brand ethos. This is really important, and actually this is how you can elevate your designs thinking in this way. So according to Lloyd's, there are 5 main core values as the bank or brand. They strive to be ahead of the game in terms of being sustainable, which now tells us a bit more about why they like to use green in their branding. Color theory showing itself really strongly here. It also states they're bold and they like to take action. And moving back to their branding, Lloyd's always use a strong black horse as part of their marketing strategy, and that is the epitome of being bold, being strong, and taking action. If you want to keep improving yourself as a functional designer, this is the kind of thing you need to keep reminding yourself of. It doesn't matter if you've learned this in the past or heard it before, unless you properly implement it into your work, it kind of doesn't mean anything to you. But let's take a look at something else now to see how well you've actually understood things. So here's a design marketing a movie about punk rock, and if I'm not mistaken, this is the lead singer from Green Day. But again, put on your graphic design cap and think about the audience. How has the designer here made choices that would appeal to the correct audience? Now I can think of at least 4 strong points, and firstly it is the typography. It's very punk and it's reminiscent of 80s punk actually. The typography is harsh, it's kind of non-conformist, and it's pretty radical, as is the color palettes, which is grayscale with a bold and a harsh pink. It's all very jarring to look at, and actually that's intentional. But also notice the badges at the bottom here. Now these badges are very popular and collectible in the punk scene. People who spent their youth in the punk scene would actually gravitate towards this and perhaps want to watch the movie. Then look at this design here. I purposely chose a design that isn't English because here's my question to you guys. Considering design theory and speaking to an audience, what is the design geared towards right here? It is again something related to music, but what sort of music? Now we have a very avant-garde and theatrical line illustration, and that's matched with elegant serif fonts. Gold does suggest something precious or important, and yes, this is of course for a classical musical event. Now, did you actually manage to get that? And no, if you speak the native language, it doesn't count, I'm afraid. But let's break things down now, step by step, simply so you can implement this into your very own workflow. Now, let's say we're designing something for a website design agency that caters to younger people in their 20s. It's a brand that is playful, it's fun, and it wants to be daring. Basically, it wants to be different. Now, we can go about this in many different ways, but a good approach would be to choose a color that is very striking, very bold, and turns heads and grabs attention. A bold, bright red or orange might be a good move here, and that's something that raises the heartbeat and turns heads. But what can we do for typography? Young audiences often suggest sans serif, but here it's based around web design, so it might be something geeky or nerdy. So something perhaps like this. And then to appeal to the tech world, the brand could actually incorporate some retro imagery like you can see here, and then work some kind of daring, playful graphics into the brand identity to relate back to that daring, playful nature. And as you can see, it's all about forming a visual language based around the audience. There are no hugely successful brands or graphic designers who ignore this kind of approach. They just don't exist. So the sooner you think this way and then importantly implement it into your graphic design theory and workflow, the better. Now, if you can cause an emotional response with your graphic designs, then it will sell much more products, persuade more people, and stick in the minds of the target audience for a longer period of time. So the important thing is that you know this and then actually use that knowledge to your advantage. But importantly, how? Well, firstly, you need to identify who your audience is and what sort of emotion you want to evoke in them so you can express the right message. Ask yourself this: what sort of emotion will best fit the message that you want to say to the audience of your client's brand or business? Here is a list of common emotional responses that are used by designers and marketing agencies. Take a long, hard look at these basic emotional responses that humans feel from time to time, and then choose one or possibly two or three that seem like they would be a great tool for you to use on your designs. For example, if you're designing something for an exclusive or rare kind of product, you might want to use FOMO, or fear of missing out, and also craving and aesthetic appreciation. People who buy into a Davidoff cologne want to feel masculine, confident, and a tiny bit mysterious, but why is that? It's pretty much because they want to gain a partner and maybe admiration from other people. But once you know what your audience feels, thinks, and what they want to attain, it's time to move on to the next step. So you have the emotions that you want to use, and you have the client's brief, as well as hopefully your research. But what else do you actually have? Well, as a designer, you should have graphic design skills. So the first thing to decide on is the color palette. What colors will work to express your chosen emotions? And so here's an example. This design has a goal of raising awareness of poverty. Firstly, the vast majority of this design is in grayscale or black and white. The lack of color suggests a sad and somber situation, one that lacks any kind of happiness whatsoever. This obviously plays into the emotional heartstrings of the audience. Then the only single color used is red, and this is a very, very striking color that can suggest danger or even urgency. This plays into how severe the situation is, and it would help the audience to feel as if they need to act fast. And as you can see, this was a smart and a well thought out choice when considering emotion. But if you want to watch something else about graphic design and learn some key skills, just click that video on screen. And until next time guys, design your future today. Peace.